Welcome back, everybody, to Rain on Your Parade with J-L Cauvin. I am J-L Cauvin here in the new year with producer Mike. Hello, producer Mike.
Hi, everybody. Hi, JL. How you doing? Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too. I'm doing all right. Just a few, new year kicked off immediately. Both of my January gigs got canceled.
Yes.
I don't have a day job anymore. That got canceled December 30th.
There's one around the corner, though, no?
Sure, but it's just a good way to start the year.
Yeah.
Like, all I needed was, some guy fucking Nina Hartley in front of me to make it the perfect New Year's Eve. It's a Boogie Nights reference, fans. It's kind of a big movie. Anyway, William H. Macy. Never mind. I want to talk. They know already what the topic is because we said this is kind of part two.
Yeah. We teased it.
Yeah, like the mid-season break.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger. We talked Yellowstone. I thought very artfully, very thoroughly, and too thoroughly, right, Mike?
I mean,
it did go over an hour 10. So that's usually.
You'll be happy to know that I brought up our conversation about Beth Dutton to several people since then. And I've said, yeah, my friend JL was really on this one and explaining to me the paradox that is Beth Dutton.
Yes. And apparently I've been told in the last 6 episodes, which I have not seen, but the final 6 episodes, she somehow goes extra.
Yeah.
For her, which means she became Yosemite Sam with tits, I guess. So I'm looking forward to that.
I see. Is that all you got?
Tarnations, come on my face and then get out of my house, rootin' tootin'. Anyway, guys, no more ads on this. We've an F-bomb and a C-bomb, right? In the not the C-bomb, but a C-bomb.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, first of all, everybody, while I have you here, in a couple of on January 20th, right now, as it is scheduled, I will be releasing my first and only Donald J. Trump stand-up special, which I filmed in New Jersey. It's called Inauguration is My Favorite N-Word. Love the title. I hope you do too, but I'm really, really happy with it. It's a very original thing, obviously, but it's very funny, and it combines sort of my stand-up skills with my Trump sort of knowledge. And that'll be up on YouTube. So don't worry, everybody. You have to spend exactly $0. I hope that's the right price for my fans. I hope. They're like, but JL, the sweat equity of clicking a mouse 3 times. Are you not going to pay us for that? What am I, a slave? Well, if you find it in your hearts and in your hands to click a few times, that'll go up January 20th for, Inauguration Day. I feel like that's the perfect time.
Yeah.
It's a real branding coup.
Yeah.
So we got that. And then if you go to dictatorforadayshow.com, they are asking us to push fans and friends and family to sign up for the new, not newsletter, but it's basically just the alerts. There's not going to be a lot of alerts. It's just we want to build up the email list as a marketing tool. And then obviously when it is fully ready, which will be very soon, to sort of alert everybody where they can watch it. Do you mind if I read what the theater critic, he used to be the theater critic for the Star Ledger, and he runs he still does a radio show podcast for theater.
Okay.
But he is the guy who complimented me after the dress rehearsal and was in awe of me. And I don't say that lightly.
Yep.
But his quote, here's a couple of his quotes.
Yeah.
From what he reviewed.
I can't wait.
The writing is astonishing as well. Astonishing. Boy, does this guy know how to write Donald Trump. It's amazing. You must go see it with this actor, J-L Cauvin, in it, if indeed you can stomach the idea of spending some time with Donald Trump. It's one of the most brilliant interpretations and impersonations I have ever seen in my long life. And then here's the blurb he's given us. And I hope I'm not going out of school sharing this right now, but, the 9 people who watch one.
I'd say let it rip. You're safe.
I've seen all the great mimics who have done marvelous impersonations. He names all the old, Rich Little, etc. But I have never, ever seen one as accomplished as J-L Cauvin. The title of the show, Dictator for a Day, tells you the person he's impersonating, and if you care to see more of his subject, you will be astonished not only how Cauvin replicates his voice, but also every facial movement down to the smallest tick. It's a performance that demands to be seen. Peter Felicia, Broadway Radio.
There you
As
go.
I throw the glasses back on Scott Pelley style. So you saw him in the show? So yeah, there's just a little tooting of my own horn. But so dictatorforaday.show.com. Just sign up to get updates. You'll get a clip from the show, like an exclusive clip from the show, which is mostly me in the clip. And there's the trailer for the shows on the website, all sorts of information. So just go to the website while you're listening to this or watching this. Just open up a new tab. But I'd appreciate it. And once again, that's 2 for 2, Mike. Things I'm asking them to do in the new year that cost exactly $0.
Love to see it.
Appreciate you. And while you're doing things that don't cost any money, Mike, how about a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple or both?
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. That's housekeeping. I got gigs. Go to my calendar on my website. Charlotte, North Carolina, Las Vegas, Nevada. The end. Now, before we get to our main subject, Mike, and I hope people will go to my Patreon also because I was very busy on my Patreon, videos, podcasts, etc. Over the holidays because, I had to be. The grind doesn't stop. Just because Slickback Studios is sipping Mai Tais somewhere doesn't mean the grind stops.
Oh, we're sipping Mai Tais, are we? not scrambling to try to keep the doors open.
So please don't break the fourth wall, Mike. But my patreon.com/J-L Cauvin, easy way to support the show and me and get a lot of extra stuff. I swear it's worth it. So I want to talk first about congestion pricing, just as our opening topic. It's a big topic in the tri-state area. Basically, there's now a $9, I believe it's a $9 toll to go south of 60th Street during sort of prime hours. And I forget, was it 14th Street? Is that the base of it?
I thought it was uptown. I thought it was it's in the middle. I thought it was like below 60th.
That's what I said.
Like
I said below 60th, but I don't know where it ends.
Oh, I don't know
like
where it
at
ends
the bottom.
Either. So I'll look it up.
Okay, so 60th Street. So this has been something in talks for a long time, and the reason I'm bringing this up, I know this might be a regional issue, but I think it relates. Then the discussion we were having pre-show, it does relate to a lot of the ways I feel about this country and people. And Mike was pushing back in perfectly reasonable ways. But I thought, let's just open with this just because it's kind of on brand for the show.
I believe it's just below 60th Street all the way down.
Oh, right down to the tip.
It looks like it's just the entire lower part of Manhattan.
Okay.
From what I'm seeing on this map.
All right.
I might have researched wrong, but that's what I'm seeing.
Okay. Please, by all means, rudely and crudely correct Mike in the YouTube comments if he is in fact incorrect. Spare his feelings none. I like it. I like the idea. And I like the fact that they actually did it. And I know this was originally like a Bloomberg idea. And I have a buddy who's a big Bloomberg fan. He loves dumping on Hochul for putting this idea. And it's a Democratic hack idea. But it was Bloomberg who wanted to do it originally. And I think for him, it was really, he is a climate guy. He's obviously a independent, like fiscal. He's an old school Republican, but he's really now a liberal leaning independent based on how things have been reconfigured. But I think if you've ever, like to me, this starts with sort of how de Blasio, I don't think wanted to allow Lyft and Uber in the city because they had to, unlike other places, they had to regulate. And they were like, no, we don't want to, bro. That's how I imagine tech companies talking. And everybody who loves their apps and is now more loyal to their smartphone than their spouse is like, no, you can't do this. It's jobs. They love it's jobs. And it's you can't get to the black neighborhoods. The cabs won't pick up there. As if you give a shit. As if you care. Like I hate performative
activism,
activism where it's like it's self-serving altruism, if that's a thing. I only care about the inner cities getting cab service since I got the Lyft app. You probably never heard me say a word about this topic before I had an app on my phone. But I swear now it's not self-serving. I just care. I'm not trying to give you reasons to help me. I really care about the plight of inner city cab riders and the jobs The jobs, Mike, the jobs that these get. I remember seeing ads for Uber when it started infiltrating the city, like COVID.
Yeah.
And it was like 5,000 your first month. Come drive with Uber. And every car in a ride share was nice. And what they
Uber
do,
was great when it started.
but this
and
is
cheap.
You don't even have to tip.
Yeah.
Somehow we're so selfish. We were like, of course I don't have to tip this person doing a thing that used to always get tipped.
Yeah.
No, that'd be like Uber Pizza. You don't have to tip your pizza delivery guy. Great. Perfect. I love this system. I'm sure there's nothing shady about this system. But what these disruptors do, and a reason I bring up Uber and Lyft, is they come into an area, they make it unbelievably great for the customer. It's like you can drive from 80th Street to South Street Seaport for $9 and not tip this guy.
Yeah.
And the car will be great. He will spend more in gas getting you there than you pay. And we were like, great. I'm not even going to ask what's the catch because I'm happy. And then what they do, these disruptors, they destroy the established regulated industry. And then they say, have we destroyed the regulated industry yet? Okay. Raise the prices.
Yes.
Let everybody with a cum-stained 1993 Toyota Tercel drive Lyft and Uber. And let's go. We've taken over. And we all go, great. Oh, wait, this kind of sucks now.
Yeah.
And so Bill de Blasio, I don't blame him or whoever was in charge for like caving, because people, the loudest people, the quiet people ride the subway humbly and the bus humbly. The loud people have money and vote and are selfish and go, de Blasio, fuck you.
Yeah.
I want Uber. How can you do this? And now when I read stats of like ever since the roughly 100,000 rideshare cars that have been added to New York City streets came about, ambulance times are slower.
Right.
That feels more important. It feels more important that the ambulance get to the dying person quicker than, but anyway, that I'm already going over budget on my time for this topic. But my point is, I think I bring that up because that was like that shows you the mentality now. And you have people who will claim, I guess I'm never coming to the city again. Bullshit. See you next Saturday.
Right.
You'll find a way. Please stop acting.
We'll definitely see you at Christmas.
Yeah. Stop acting like New York City. You're like, New York City, first of all, doesn't care if you break up with it. Okay.
Right. That's true.
So congratulations. And there is too much traffic. Cars are not good for the environment. And the city our infrastructure needs more money. And this will raise, they say, billions over the next decade, like many billions. So I say it's a good thing. I went a little too off on the funny on this topic to get into the nitty-gritty, but I like it. I unabashedly support it and like it. And I do believe the reason I like it is because I feel like somebody, and why shouldn't it be a big blue city at this point? If we're going to ever back up any of the bullshit we talk about wanting, like less traffic, better environment, better worker treat, whatever we want, and better health. If we can't do it, then who the hell can do it? And the answer is probably nobody if we can't pull it off. But I look at this and say the problem we do with solutions like this, and I made this joke to you off mic, the problem that we will see, and I think it was the same as like progressive prosecutors and low bail or no bail movements in certain big cities, is that year of like pain from changes and from mistakes being made, even though we may be moving towards a better and more equitable society. We can't stand the pain. Sorry, New Edition for the pun. I can't stand the rain. So what we do is we are in this society, we are the equivalent of you need to have heart surgery. Okay. That's what we need at this point in society, whether it's climate, health, economics. We need massive heart surgery as a society. So the doctor goes, okay, the first thing I got to do is just give you a little a local anesthetic before we get to the, general anesthesia. And then he puts the needle in our arm and we go, ow. The fuck was it? No, I'm not having it. Fuck this. No, you told me this was going to save my life. That hurt. So fuck it. I'm going home. Fuck you. 1 star on ZocDoc. And that's what we get as a society. The minute there's any pain or any growing pains or adjustment issues, we abandon it and go, give me immediate comfort, safety. And I don't care if the repercussions are 20 times worse 5 years from now. Somebody can clean that up. And when they do, we can then blame them when we're not as happy and we'll go back again. So that's why I think congestion pricing has to happen. I think it has to, I don't even view it as an end all. I think it's the beginning of what we need to do as a society. And if it fails, it won't surprise me and it'll make me a little sad. So, Mike, before we get to the country superstar known as Morgan Wallen, do you have any 30-second take?
I just think, I mean, if we're using this as one of the first sort of like progressive ideas to declutter and decongest this city, I do understand the environmental ramifications, and I do think that there's probably too many cars in this city to begin with. But I do think that anytime this comes at the cost of sort of everyday people that live in the city, because for all the performative activism, as usual, this is going to be a cost that comes down to us, and it will affect people that live here. It'll certainly affect people that are doing the I'm not coming into the city anymore type thing. But I mean, it sucks that it's on us and my generation to fucking pick up the tab for what the boomers did environmentally. And turning the city into a fucking...
I bet there was a generation of young people who hated the fact that they had to go to Normandy.
I'm sure. But, I mean, at least when they came back from Normandy...
Well, they fucked a bunch and had the kids that you hate and blame for everything.
When they came back, they had a nice big house and a GI Bill.
Well, certain people did. Certain people.
Sure, I get
the
it.
Murphys, the Mooches, but the Shawns didn't have it.
But listen,
I got you.
They also can't. The generation before them. We lit at one point. There was a time where economically,
the boomers are kind of like, I think, Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic, where like instead of having a cyclical, okay, you have your time, they managed to kind of dominate for multiple generations and impact. So it's like. The next generation, which maybe should have been a wave against them, was like, shut the fuck up. I'm still winning majors.
Well, it's like even, all right.
So you're trying to be like Carlos Alcaraz right now.
Who?
Exactly.
Right. I just think it sucks because, like, again, if this were to come with some legislation where, to me, the income inequality in New York City is like really the biggest issue to me for sure here. And I think that, unfortunately, there are never any regulations put into place to help renters or anybody that lives here to actually afford to live in the city. And it's just another cost that's going to come down to us the same way that like...
But how do you feel this cost as somebody who lives in the city, doesn't drive? How do you feel this will burden you?
I still think, I do think it will make cabs and not, I try to not take Uber that much, but it will make that stuff way more expensive. It'll make delivery costs more expensive.
Can I say why? I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was talking to my sister-in-law about this yesterday when my nephew was named third team All-State in soccer.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
And I said to her, here's the problem. I'm all for that. I think cabs should be more expensive. I don't think we have enough environmental, what's the cost built into things. I think hamburgers should be $30 a pop. It'd be better for our health. And that's without all the subsidies. Like, I know I'm making it a macro issue, but like all these niceties, the convenience we now deem our right is killing us. Like, don't take as many cabs. Don't order don't.
I don't really take that many cabs,
right.
And I'm saying I think if that's your way of getting around all the time, that that's bad for the environment, and it's also like that will be expensive regardless.
Yeah.
But should I never take a cab because it's going to cost me $60?
No,
that's
that's I don't know the cost the price point.
Yeah, and I just made up a number.
I know.
But,
But I do think there needs to be, just like you think economically, there needs to be a realignment, some sort of like the inequality is too great. There needs to be something. I think as a society, we are using resources that are so easy and have such a heavier cost than we are paying.
Yeah.
I think the same way you think there should be an economic adjustment, I think there needs to be a climate and convenience adjustment as well. And I feel like when it comes to that, people go, well, no, that's big. Like, I'm just talking about my pot. And it's at some point we've got to do some things
I know, but
that are a little difficult.
I think that the reality of the situation, and this was the point that I was going to try to make about when they put the bus lane and the bike lanes in. I love the bike lanes. I'm a biker.
And I love the bus lanes.
Right. And and when I don't bike, I usually do take the bus. Mm-hmm. Those are like my 2 ways around the city usually. But what happened once they put the bus lane is you take away a lane of traffic for cars. And now, obviously, it's New York City. So they have to unload the fucking trucks everywhere, every day. So these guys now just take up a lane of traffic on their own. And instead of at least having 3 lanes of traffic before, now you have 2 because you have 3, but somebody is sitting in the lane of traffic unloading a truck for 45 minutes.
Right.
And then 2 blocks down, there's another guy doing that.
Sure.
So you're bottlenecking all this traffic into this, I think and you never really see, I think that should be like death penalty. If you stop your car, your truck
took a real hard right turn.
Well, I just think it's one of these things where it's like,
I got you.
Like I got a ticket on my bike right before the holidays because I like ran a red light on the bike, quote unquote. And
Please
then
go back to the bike episode and see that Mike is obviously the villain we all feared.
I'm just saying, a cop literally took the time, pulled me over, wrote me a ticket that I still have not paid, but I'll get to it. And for running a red light, according to them. Meanwhile, while I was pulled over and they were writing me a ticket, 10 other people ran a red light on a bike. I just don't think that it's actually going to. First off, I don't trust what they're going to do with the money. You know how I feel about the MTA. I don't think they actually ever get any work done. Nothing ever gets fixed. Everything runs bad. And this isn't going to help. So it's just this situation where I feel like, as usual, we're going to pick up the bill and nothing is actually going to get better or change. And I think that I've just seen this enough to feel like it's just going to be us getting fucked for no reason again. And this is just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will help.
I hope you're wrong. But I will say this, and I'll end on this point because I have to take on the cops and firefighters, obviously.
Yes.
There's no hockey discussion. By the way, we haven't talked about the fact that I bought a ticket plan for the Rangers this year, and they have gone from best record in the league to worst record in their division.
Yep.
And as The Athletic put it, I've never seen a team fall so far so fast. So I'd like to tip my cap to the entire New York Rangers fan base. You didn't know what you were getting when you gave me a ticket plan. But the firefighters were complaining about how this is going to be unsafe. Because, first responders, they love to claim that anything that inconveniences them is now going to endanger lives.
Right.
And they're like, some of them bring their equipment home and now they're taking it on the train, but they're late. So we got guys extending shifts. They're acting like they're in fucking World War I trenches all of a sudden. And I'm going, could you build out an area where maybe then they don't have to, like, what equipment? Like the fucking hoses?
Yeah.
Or their rubber? Like, I'm sorry. It was one of those things where I was going, like, you played this endangering lives card a little too quickly. When I was an assistant DA in the Bronx, I made my first year out of law school, $46K a year. That was the salary. Mm-hmm. I lived at home for 2 years so that I could feel like a normal human being, like as if my salary was commensurate with being a lawyer.
Yeah.
And cops don't have to live in the city. DAs had to live in the city. So with law school debt, but no douchebag Pat Lynch advocating for us, we have to go broke and have roommates as lawyers.
Yeah.
But cops, who granted make shit salary early, but by their 4th year, they're making the same as us. And then there's the OT and the milking the system and the hookers on the side and all the other things that cops
and they're done by 40.
And then they retire at 40 with the pension, with their salary for life being half. It used to be half of your final year, but too many of our heroes in blue would be like, give me more overtime this year. I really want to fuck the city. And it was like, oh, you earned $290,000 in your final year because you never slept and you're a fucking liar.
Yeah.
So now we have to pay you a six-figure salary for life while you go get a security job and a second family.
Yeah.
Heroes, of course. Heroes, I know. But we didn't have that option. Like, so this idea of like cops, hey, they don't make a lot. I'm sorry that the 21-year-old cop has to have roommates and make only 30 grand.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you think? Do you think a lot of 21-year-olds working in general are living like the life of luxury?
I made $10 an hour.
Right.
At 21.
So my point is, these people, these heroes, they complain about these things and throw out the endangering lives card. And I've had some people cynically go, so you want me to pay for the MTA, but you can't stop me from getting burned in a fire on a subway? And here's what I will say to that. The cops need to be on the trains. I don't know who needs to hear this. Clip it. I don't need to who needs to hear this, but the cops, part of the problem with subway safety right now is that in the 80s and 90s, when shit was really going down in New York City,
right,
the cops, who I'm sure weren't angels, but they were in a way earning that hero label a little more because they were actually going into the fucking fire.
Yeah.
Plenty of scumbags, but probably plenty of good dudes doing it. And it's a tough job. I am not, all seriousness, not diminishing that. But when the city was a war zone, and I'm sure there was a lot of shady stuff going on, but there were still young men and women, I'm kidding, and women. No non-binaries back then, though, Mike.
No.
We still had values. They would get on trains, and it was dangerous. You might have gangs, you might have armed people, you might have crazy people on the train.
Yeah.
But you know what? The reason you get, and I know this sounds a little cynical, but the reason you get to be the hero and Blue Lives Matter and be respected and pillars in the community, if not by deed, by reputation, is because you do the hard work. You do the scary shit that I don't want to do, lib cuck pussy that I am. It's because you do that hard work. Standing in a corner of a subway station with 5 of your other dudes looking at tit pics from your fucking side pieces is not the hard work. When you get to Times Square and they go, if you're having a problem, there are police officers at the station. Oh, okay. Well, I'm stabbed in the neck and on fire. Could one of the cops be on the train helping, doing the hero work, not the fucking job of the coroner cleaning up my guts later? Could they actually be here and do the hard work and be that shield between the villains and then society?
Yeah.
And I know I'm making it simple and exaggerated, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. I don't know how it's even legal by police procedure to be on your cell phone. I just finished a day job reviewing emails for a major company. My cell phone had to be in a cubby during work hours because of, security reasons and data leakage. But if you're a cop, you can be staring at your phone in this hellhole of a city that's so dangerous. You can just be like, look at her tits. You like that? Yeah. I think I hear somebody scream, well, she's already dead. Let's wrap this up. Okay. You're going to take this? All right. Yeah. Look at this one. Look at this piece of ass. So if you're going to demand hero treatment, you got to start being heroes. And stop texting. How about that? Don't text in the movies and don't text if you're a fucking cop in New York City. The end. We'll be back with some Morgan Wallen talk after this break. And we're back. Mike, how was that break for you?
Relaxing.
Good. You hopefully my lecturing NYPD made you feel like maybe the city was going to get a little safer now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
Imagine me as police commissioner. Turn your backs on me. I don't give a shit.
Get off your phone.
Get off your phone and try to honor your marital vows at least this week. Anyway, guys, Morgan Wallen is he's a monster country star, N-word enthusiast, and COVID denier. No, that's just that's a inaccurate summary of who the man is. But I will get to all those in a minute. But the reason I wanted to do Morgan Wallen is because I thought what made him stand out to me was not just his success, his sort of stature as probably, I think we discussed in the last episode, like maybe just a tad, like just under the Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Bad Bunny level.
Like bottom of tier 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Bottom of tier 1 or top of tier 2.
Yeah.
And it's a small, tier 2 is also a small tier.
Yes. Elite, unquestionably. Financially, record sales, chart, like he had a song that was like the number 2 song of the year in terms of chart topping after Shabuzi, which we'll get to that hacky song in a second. But I thought what made him stand out to me was in the MAGA era, just like Yellowstone was this number 1 show, and it was clearly catering to a right of center audience and a MAGA audience. I thought, well, Morgan Wallen, the thing I know about him is he was a big deal. I didn't really hear about him until I did a deep dive into all of his work. I had never heard a Morgan Wallen song. And after listening to all his work, I realized I had never heard a song. I kept expecting one song to pop out and go, oh, that's him. Like when somebody's that big, you're just like, oh, him. Okay, that's why he's a big deal. I didn't know a single one of his songs, but I did know that he got caught on tape yelling the N-word. And that his album went number 1 with a bullet like 5 days later. Like there was like literally no blowback. Yeah.
And his was an example of when people go, cancel culture's gone too far. And I'm like, but the N-word is one of those things that maybe it's not a lifetime cancel, but a pause, like a pause culture.
Yeah.
And not in the way that they say it online, meaning like that's gay.
Yeah.
I mean,
pause,
literally,
like, let's take a break.
We're going to pause this and take a break.
Yeah.
And there didn't seem to be even a pause in his sort of shit. Now he did, as I read up, he issued an apology. He made appropriate donations and did the work and made a full-throated apology apparently, which I didn't hear because I didn't look for it. Because once I just enjoy the cancellation part, unlike Nick Cannon's show on Amazon, Council Culture.
Yeah.
How about condom culture, Nick? But I thought he's the perfect artist to discuss. A guy who seemingly like Trump is kind of with his fan base, which is considerable, impervious to scandal. I mean, yes, could he do something? I'm not saying I don't think he has the Trump immunity of like, if you sexually assault a woman, you
can run the country.
Yeah. Trump has platinum immunity.
Yeah.
Morgan Wallen though has like not quite Michael Jackson immunity. Because that's the scale. Michael Jackson is next after Trump, really. If you believe what is claimed of him, he's next because, he avoided the whole QAnon mob. Yeah. But after that comes like out and out racial slur immunity. And I think Morgan Wallen is like entrenched in that 3rd tier star immunity. So I thought perfect guy to do a deep dive, to examine like what makes him so popular, in my opinion. Like, how do I analyze what he's doing? Then how do I synthesize that as a presidential candidate with the appeal and the message of Yellowstone and say, how can Democrats culturally reach enough just to peel off? You're not going to win this base, but how do you get 4 to 5%, which will make all the difference, of this large Yellowstone Morgan Wallen fan base that loves their sort of high-end MAGA culture? How do you peel some of them off? How do you craft a message or speak to those people who like what they're getting from there and make it appeal to them? So first we got to go into Morgan Wallen. Now, guys, Bo Burnham for me, I've begun terming him the last comedy genius because I don't know if we'll ever produce somebody like that again. I don't know if the comedy world will ever not be an algorithm chasing hack fest full of people just seeking a way out of day jobs anymore. His skills, intelligence, artistry, he's basically in like a Mount Rushmore for me already at such a young age, but I think the man's talent is unbelievable. In 2015, when he was like 23, he did a special called Make Happy on Netflix. It has an unbelievable closer where he parodies Kanye West, and it's like deeply moving and hugely entertaining. But in it, he also does a country song parody. Now, this isn't like a Weird Al thing where it's like, I made a funny song based on another song. It's deeply insightful about like culture and entertainment. So he talks about country singers. And he says, I'm just going to read a couple, like just the text. You should go watch Make Happy on Netflix. But he says, he's talking about, I don't know why, he says, country music gets a bad rap. Why is it when Bruce Springsteen sings about a fucking turnpike, it's art, but then when someone sings about a horse, it's dumb? I don't know. I think some of the greatest songwriters of all time are country artists, Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson, Yeah. And if you're writing honestly, that's art. I would never bash it. The problem is with a lot of modern country music, what is called stadium country music, sort of Keith Urban brand of country music, is that it's not honest. It's the exact opposite of honest. Where instead of people actually telling their stories, you had a bunch of millionaire metrosexuals who've never had a hard day's work in their life, but they figured out the words and phrases they can use to pander to their audience, et cetera, et cetera. So the song, that's the intro to the song. And I'll just give you the first part: a dirt road, a cold beer, a blue jeans, a red pickup, rural noun, simple adjective. So that's how it starts. That's a quote.
Great.
That's a quote.
Yeah,
so then he goes, I walk and talk like a field hand, but the boots I'm wearing cost $3,000. I write songs about riding tractors from the comfort of a private jet. And then the chorus, it's about pandering. And then I'll just give you the end part. And the reason I'm picking out these specific things, the way he drops a cold night, a cold beer, a lot of beer references. It's so perceptive. I know you can do 80% of what Bo Burnham does by just being funny and average, and you can nail the obvious parts. Kind of a Talladega Nights parody. Mm-hmm. But it's the deep specificity, which shows just a more insight. And then he just, I like this one. I got a tight grip on my demo's balls. Say the word truck, they jizz in their overalls. It's just, when I heard that was 2015. Okay. Which means he probably workshopped it, wrote it in 2014. Well, guess who dropped their first EP in 2015?
2015?
Yeah. I'll give you exactly one hint.
It can't be Morgan Wallen.
Morgan Wallen.
Did he really?
Yes.
He's been around that long?
Well, here's the thing. He was on season 6 of The Voice in 2014.
Really?
Which I didn't know.
I had no idea.
He has to be actually the biggest star, discounting Jennifer Hudson, who's an EGOT winner.
Yeah.
But as far as music, and there's been some big musical stars from the reality shows at this point, he's got to be the biggest music star
from any of the reality.
I'm asking you, who else?
Carrie Underwood.
But I'm that's why I'm saying him. I know how big Carrie Underwood is, and she was great on American
bigger,
Idol.
I think, though, than
you think.
He might be bigger right now.
Okay.
But Carrie Underwood, I think Carrie Underwood's the biggest star. If it's her and Kelly Clarkson that came out.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, this guy, you got to realize this guy's got an almost 10-year career now, and he's got about 6 years as like a Billboard top country artist, like 4 times.
Yeah, but so is Carrie Underwood. Carrie Underwood is number one as far as I.
I don't discount that. I'm just saying, I think, like, I'm aware of Carrie Underwood. Like, she came into my mind, and I didn't look her stats up.
Right.
But he's huge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if he could keep this up another decade.
Yeah.
He'd be the guy. He'd be the clear number one. But the fact that he's just in that conversation already, impressive. But he was into rock and hip hop, according to his Wikipedia page. But then he got into country. Good career move.
Yep.
It's like being a catcher in baseball. Sorry for the baseball reference, but if you want to get to the majors faster, catcher, country.
That's right.
That's the way to do it. So I bought all his albums, and my brother was disgusted by me because he was like,
even for art?
I not even for art, for podcast.
Yeah, right.
But
you're right. This isn't art.
But here's the thing. I really wanted to not support him, but like absorb all his shit.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if I could separate the music from the stories, and also just like take in his whole catalog and be like, maybe I'll like, what if I like it?
Yeah.
What if I don't? So what I found interesting, though, is for the most part, Morgan Wallen is as if Bo Burnham crafted him with his very words. it's almost like he birthed him through his comedy.
Right.
And that, like Trump, there is a danger when you are a parody, but the culture doesn't care.
Right.
That's
the culture's not in on the joke.
Well, and in other words, the culture is like the parody and the real thing are both fine to me.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't need to know that he's a joke. I don't even know who Bo Burnham is, but I know I have tickets to Morgan Wallen.
Right.
So his first EP, Stand Alone. Okay. The title track. Now I'm going to read a quote from this one because he definitely matured as a singer. This song, by the way, is earnest. This is not a joke.
Yeah.
This song. And it's I Stand Alone. Now, what would you think I Stand Alone is about? If somebody's saying I stand alone.
I stand alone in my conviction.
Exactly.
Maybe.
You nailed it. Almost like we didn't, but it's almost like we discussed it pre-show.
Okay.
Because exactly. I Stand Alone is about principles, conviction. You don't just say I stand alone in a breakup song.
Well, no, because
that just means you're single. You're
right.
not standing alone.
I mean, that's very like,
when you're on
you
a
do
dating
stand
website,
alone, I guess.
Your relationship status is not engaged, married, divorced, standing alone.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
So the title track. So, here's my favorite. I rewound the song. I was in a hotel for gigs, and I rewound. I said, no, I must have misheard.
Yeah.
Because this sounded like a joke to me nobody was joking.
Mm-hmm.
I forget how the song went, but it was like, just the other day, driving down the highway, seen a Chevrolet, reminded me of you. I almost called, but I'm sure glad I didn't. I just shook it off and drank some Mountain Dew.
Oof.
You always said that it was bad for my health. My head. I'm sorry, not health, head. You always said it was bad for my head. Well, baby, you can go to hell. Billboard's Country Music Artist of the Year.
That's really bad. That's really, really bad, man.
No, I knew I was listening to like a rookie effort.
This is on his like most recent album?
No, his EP. This is 2015.
Okay,
so
got it.
Season 6 of The
So
Voice.
how old is he when he's doing that?
That's a good question. Probably like 21.
All right.
If I'm guessing 21, 22.
It's still bad, but I mean,
it's
like,
really bad.
It's not really like a seasoned, you know.
But if you're a record producer,
I wrote some horrible shit, not musically, but like,
sure.
At 21, 22, I'm sure there's some things that I would cringe
But I didn't have a deal with Netflix at 21, and they were
also
like
true.
Sanctioning the worst jokes you've ever heard.
Right.
This is an
Fair
EP
point.
put out by a record label. The Voice has like worked with him. He's like signed by somebody after The Voice.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very, I mean, that is quote. That is a quote. And it was, I'm telling you, it was not like I'm doing a parody song.
No,
this is an earnest.
Legit. Yeah.
And there's something probably relatable, obviously, about like, just drank my Mountain Dew. But then it was like, she told you it was bad for you, and you continued to drink your Mountain Dew to tell her to go to hell.
Yeah.
I stand alone. Like, what?
Yeah.
This is not the Genesis story of like one of the biggest music artists in the world. But hey, people can improve.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that no matter how much good shit I or some other people put out, like that would end a lot of singing careers.
Yeah.
Like, did you do that Mountain Dew Stand Alone song?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Oof.
Right. Who wrote this? Oh, you? My bad.
And then he has a song called Man of the South. And let me tell you something. It's got one of my favorite things in this. And Toby Keith does it in the Boot in Your Ass song, courtesy of the US of A, which
we love.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We'll put a boot in your ass.
But that whole song is so good and fun.
Yeah.
And I take it not as Donald Rumsfeld writing a country song for a man who should have more responsibility. It's a country guy who has a decent reputation socially among some Democrats also.
Yeah.
But it's his audience, and it's probably how he feels. His daddy was in the military.
Yeah.
We put a flag outside till the day he died.
Yeah.
But
it's also, honestly, it's written in a way where, like, musically, where it's like badass. because it starts off with the chords. I really do like this song. It's
American boys,
yeah, and it's just a couple chords
American girls.
right.
We always stand. Oh no,
Right.
guys is second because he says we'll always stand up and recognize.
Yeah, and then when you get to the part where it's like the song picks up,
Well, no, and
it goes like the
daddy
electric.
stand
Bow, 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 bow. You're getting like guitar, like chord pop, and you're just like, oh man,
Yes.
this guy's building up to a crescendo.
It is. So I get people not liking the trivialization of war.
Yeah,
Though I don't know if he really meant it in that way. He might have been like, I'm still upset about 9/11.
right.
But
Which fair, you know?
much like Morgan Wallen does here, both of them do this. And I'm wondering if this is a country trend because obviously saying daddy is very feminine.
Yeah.
The only times I've seen that country singers can say daddy is either my daddy died. You're allowed to be gay when your dad dies. You're allowed a gay moment,
Yeah.
a feminine moment when your daddy dies. But if you're just having a catch with your daddy, that's your Paul.
Right.
It's not your daddy. What are you, a gay? You're allowed, your Paul has a catch with you. Your daddy died.
Yeah.
But I noticed Wallen and our boy Keith
Yeah, Toby Keith.
do daddy is always mentioned when the song gets hard, just in case you thought they were being effeminate.
Yeah.
If you're going to say, my daddy died today. Yeah, if you're, yes, exactly. If you're mentioning the word daddy and you're a man in country music, either he's dead or your song's got to rock at that moment. And Morgan is no exception. He sticks to the rule like 4 times.
Yeah.
So in the song Man of the South, like that's about manners. It's like a hard song about manners, like how you stand up for your friends and you take your hat off at the dinner table and you don't cuss in front of mama.
Yeah.
But I love in one of the lines, he just says something like, you claim your own mistakes. And I'm like, do you? Did you apologize to SNL for violating COVID protocols in 2020 because you were at an Alabama game, Morgan? Did you?
Yeah.
Did you own your mistakes, you man of the South?
Roll Tide.
So his first album is comical, clearly, his EP.
Yeah.
To me, I'd be scared if I put that out. I'd be like, oh God, did I really say the Mountain Dew thing? Was that stupid?
Mm-hmm.
It was, Morgan. It was. So, and this leads me to Chris Stapleton, who I like, who's basically like the king of like respected blues country right now.
Yeah.
And his stuff is very blues rock.
Yeah.
Now, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's not so much like there's a lot of rock and blues, but
Definitely,
at least there's not a lot of hip hop in his music.
Yes.
There's like blues could be like a cousin of country.
Yeah.
Hip hop,
Well, it is.
not related.
Right.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But Stapleton has some great songs, though I always thought, and I don't mean to act like I'm a country expert, but once I learned things, I'm able to pick things up. I remember hearing about a song by George Jones. It's like called He Stopped Loving Her Today.
He stopped loving her today.
Thank you. And you are a music guy, so I'm glad. But I remember listening to this song, and it was an example of like this poetry and this misdirection that's so common in country music.
Well, he's the king.
And the idea, spoiler, of the song is the reason he stopped loving her today, it wasn't a breakup song. She died.
Yep.
And he promised to love her till death do us part. So it's this poetic misdirection. Chris Stapleton did a song called He Stopped Praying Today. And I was like, sir, I like a lot of your songs. That is a complete copy.
Well, he also famously has, and I don't know,
praying, not because he's an atheist, Mike, because he died. He's gone to God. He no longer needs to pray to God. He didn't go all atheist. You thought Stapleton was doing an atheist song because he's got all those liberal friends.
Yeah. Tennessee Whiskey, one of his big songs. Right?
I'd Rather Go Blind.
That's right. Yes. That's I'd Rather Go Blind.
Has he given credit for that?
It's the same.
It's the same song.
It's like beat for beat, note for note, the same thing.
No. It's
Etta James, right?
Yeah. I when I heard that, I was like,
I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, this guy's covering I'd Rather Go Blind.
He had to.
And no, it's a different song.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, what?
I'm so glad you brought that up. So, but Stapleton's good, but he's kind of, there's flaws there too. But he's the other branch of popular country, but I don't see him as problematic, because his stuff doesn't stray so far from country.
Yeah.
That's why I think he's not only is it commercial success, but he's much more critically like revered, I think, than Wallen. So that's why I didn't kind of take Stapleton. And he's never publicly yelled the N-word on tape.
Not that we know of.
Well, right. So, and you'd think they would have found it by now. Some angry rival would have canceled him by now. So, okay. So now we get to 2018 and it's his first full album. He's got 3 albums. This is his first full album.
Mm-hmm.
If I Know Me. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the thing I noticed about Morgan, and maybe this appeals the same way Trump, not a ton of God talk.
Interesting.
He's more modern country. He'll throw God in as like a rhetorical thing, but he's not doing a lot of praying.
Yeah.
Not a lot of church going in his music.
Yeah.
And I think deep down, that's what all these Christians want. Less church.
Right.
MAGA Christians. The problem with being a MAGA Christian is sometimes they expect you to show up at church and do a good deed. Yeah. Morgan's letting you off the hook.
Keep going. I'm just going to turn the heat on.
Oh, sure. So we get not a ton of religion, and boy, oh boy, are we cliche filled. This is where he really gets into his Bo Burnham stride. I'd say 70% of his songs, and this could be a slight exaggeration, but it might not be, have whiskey, beer, football, whiskey, beer.
Yeah.
And I almost want to be like, you gotta, how can you have a catalog of like 70 songs and 52 of them have whiskey and beer in them?
Well, okay, hold on. In fairness,
sure.
AC/DC has a catalog of, hundreds of songs.
Well, I've already done my Brian Johnson impression for the people. I want to rock.
And they all have rock in them.
Rock.
It's 200 songs about rocking hard. And I love AC/DC. They rock hard. But every other song, we're rocking, we're rolling, we're rocking. Rock and roll train. Yeah, everything.
Oh, I love that song.
But anyway, they're the best. But
there is, I feel like if not a self-awareness about an AC/DC, there is you came for us to say rock. Yeah. I don't know if I come to Morgan Wallen, especially as his later music develops, for whiskey themes. Yeah. It's like, and as he develops later, it becomes more evident that the songwriting is less important than the producing behind it as it veers far, far, far away from country.
Sure. You can say that about music, period, these days.
Yes.
But I digress.
But I have a beautiful thesis ready for the people at the end of this one. So he's got a song called What You Know About That. Do you know that song?
No, I was doing my AC/DC.
Oh, okay.
I can't get a song that I just made up on the spot out of my head.
Sure.
We're rocking. Rock and roll podcast. Yeah. I got the mics. I'm sitting with Mike. And we're rocking. 5 stars on iTunes.
What You Know About That is the first song where I perked up and said, ooh, there's a lot of hip hop influence in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get to this because people throughout this discussion, and I will get to this, don't worry, will say, but J-L, what's wrong with in America? Isn't that kind of a good thing? Like we're too rigid with our categories. I agree. One way. It's not a two-way street, which is a teaser for where I'm going with this, because I'm not against, I am a mixed product.
Right.
I am not against cultural mixing and influencing, but it's got to be both ways in the very least. And it is definitely not. So we'll get to that.
I see.
Now we got What You Know About That, very hip hop influence. Now, The Way I Talk was the first song where I said, I know the guy said the N-word, but boy, oh boy, I'm liking this one. And that's one of his songs with "Don't cuss around my daddy." Like it picks up at daddy.
Yeah.
It's like it's a rule, I think, of country music.
Yeah.
Or else you're gay.
Yeah.
What are you, little Nas X? Don't you know you're supposed to rock when you say daddy? But I like that song. It's a very pop country. It's pop country. It's not hip hop country. It's pop country, but it's good. And then he's got this song, If I Know Me, which is the title track. And I have a lot of mixed emotions about this, and this is going to be my first pivot. It reminds me of Ed Sheeran, when Ed Sheeran did what's his biggest hit, like the boom 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 boom.
Yeah, the one with Justin. No. Oh, not him and Justin Bieber. Yeah, the shape of you.
Yes, and that was like, to me, that was such a great example of what we let white people do in music, which is like, oh, this wonderful songwriting balladeer that's endeared himself in the hearts at weddings, most played wedding song, like that, those songs from his first album.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, doom, 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 doom. And I'm like, what? What is this? Who's this Caribbean act on the pop charts? Oh, it's Ed Sheeran. And it made me real. No, it's a good song. It's a hit because it's a good song. It's like the most streamed song ever. Sorry, Gangnam Style. But it was just such a, oh, you can just give me that.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like, please hand it over.
Yeah.
I'm white and I'm in America. Give me your influence. And it made me think, and I came up with the kind of thing where I go, I compare this to the national anthem, where I'm like, it's everybody's anthem, but it's owned by certain people and other people have to show more respect and deference to it.
Right.
You know, when I go to a Ranger game, I'm going to do this video about doing the anthem at a Ranger game, but it still stuns me at just how flagrantly disrespectful. Even at a Knick game, where it's a much more diverse audience, there's a couple jerks who probably came over from a hockey game who are like, let's go Knicks. But most people are quite, whereas Ranger games, it's a competition to shout over the anthem.
Yeah.
It's a very like, we own this. And I keep thinking when I think of, remember Pink? You know Pink, right?
Of course, yeah.
Do you remember her first album? You're probably very young. Relatively young.
'Cause I'm troubled.
Oh no.
It was before that?
What
was the first
There
Pink
You
song?
Go.
Yeah, there you go.
Where it was like, it was a bunch of like
Go.
black and Puerto Rican dudes in the video. And she was clearly entering the fray as like a white, are you light Hispanic?
Yeah.
Hip hop pop artist.
Bit ambiguous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I obviously, who is it? L.A. Reid, I think was her producer.
But that sounds, I'm not sure, but that
he's one of the big producers. Yeah, I think he sat down and said, how do you feel about going?
He's like he's like a big money guy. I don't think he's a producer.
Oh, then who?
He's L.A. Reid's like an executive,
no, I know, but
he runs.
Was he the guy on X Factor with Simon Cowell, one of the well, anyway, I could have the name wrong, but I still think at that level when you're launching a new artist, bigger, higher ups are involved in the decision making.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think he said, we're not sure the white girl being in videos with people of color is going over so well. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about being a power ballad, angsty white chick?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And then the Pink we know becomes a mega superstar.
Yeah.
And I think what I've come to the conclusion through anecdotal evidence is that white people, the white dollar, okay, as it moves pop culture.
Yep.
They don't want white people who appeal to black people. They want white people who steal from black people. And I use steal as a turn of phrase, but from Elvis to Timberlake, it's not. Now, when I saw Justin Timberlake at a Dave Chappelle show, like at his birthday shows at the Garden last year, or I think it was last year, a lot of black people love him. It's not like, I'm not saying.
Well, same thing with Elvis.
Right.
Elvis was right. Tribute more than anything.
Because I'm not talking about they can't appeal and be entertaining and have fans in other communities. I'm talking about the white dollar.
Yeah.
Moves fastest when you are taking, but not trying to be with.
Yeah.
Like you are taking from, but not dancing with.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a subtle distinction there, but I think that is key. And I looked at Pink and I said, oh, you wanted to be with. You were just supposed to borrow.
Yeah.
So we have to redo your whole career, ma'am.
Yeah.
And Timberlake is a good example. And then Ed Sheeran. I mean, even though that's a very slight thing, I don't think it's coincidence that his biggest hit was White Guy doing a song that doesn't sound like his.
Well, I think his biggest hit is still that you look that's a big hit.
It is. I think Shape of You is his biggest hit in terms of just streams, but that could also associate with a rise in Spotify over those years. But yes, the wedding song that he does is of course a huge hit.
Yeah.
But that's a very different thing. Now, I'm not saying artists shouldn't evolve, and I'm not even saying Ed Sheeran is doing anything wrong himself. I'm just saying how the white dollar purchases these things and accepts them. So I'm not blaming the artist in these cases. Well, I will probably blame Morgan Wallen.
No.
That's the difference. But I just see these other things. And then I think of somebody like Beyonce and Shaboozey. Now, Shaboozey, that song, I can't believe that song was number one for like 20 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a very mediocre song.
Yes.
In fact, when I saw him on SNL, I said, oh, Shaboozey, okay. His first song was much better. His like newer single, which is not as big a hit, obviously, but was just a much better song. the other one was very like mindless, like an Applebee's commercial jingle.
Yes.
And
you hear it in all the football games and all that stuff. Yeah.
1 to the 2 and the 3. It's not good.
Yeah.
And it was this humongous hit. Now, what I laugh at is when he goes to the CMAs and wins nothing. And that Beyonce can't get nominated. And Beyonce can't get nominated for anything at the CMAs. And they play the sort of country purity test on them. And my theory on that, because Morgan Wallen still gets nominated for stuff and wins awards there, but just like with music and that I've described before, it's like, whether it's the anthem or art, white people can stray like they're the prodigal sons. Like Morgan Wallen goes very far astray from country, but it's like, no, but you can always come home. This is your family.
Yeah.
So you can do your hip hop and all you want. This is your home. Beyonce could fucking do a George Strait record and they'd be like, interlopers are not welcome in our country music. We got to keep it country, right? The Houston black woman doing traditional 70s country ain't cutting it, Beyonce. And so to me, that's the vibe. And Shabuzi, it's a terrible song, but it's still kind of insulting to be like, but he didn't win anything from your awards. Like he had the biggest country hit. A lot of you white folks were enjoying it. Your young people were enjoying it. It wasn't like he was a hip hop legend. It was a country song. And I can't help but see that as like like the anthem, country music no matter how far white artists stray from the roots, they're always family.
Yeah.
But you got to like come in and play. You got to be Darius Rucker. You got to just be like, I am doing pure country.
Right.
And you will then accept me.
Right.
And if I try to do something different, you will not accept me. So that's my thought on that whole album. So there were some good songs, but he had these little hip hop influences. Now, Dangerous, 2021, second to last album we're going to discuss. It's produced by Charlie Handsome. Do you know who Charlie Handsome is?
I don't think so.
Okay, he's a big producer, and I'll tell you, he actually has worked with, and he was referred to in the New York Times as the primary architect of Morgan Wallen's current sound. So like on these last 2 big albums that have been monster successes. And Charlie Handsome has worked, and this is my quote, with such country luminaries as Young Thug, Kodak Black, and Kanye West. So legends in the country music field.
Kodak Black.
So let's just go. I'm gonna pick this up, obviously, because I want to get to my main thesis.
Yes, please.
Damn it.
Because
okay, I got you.
It's an hour. You're in an hour 5.
They're getting a mega episode to start the year. This won't be.
Great.
I had a lot of time to really dig into details. This is an exception, not the rule. This is the brutalist.
Okay,
it is brutal.
I'm glad I'm finding that out now.
Well, Wasted on You is pretty much a trap song. I'm like, are you Morgan Wallen or Migos Wallen at this point? Warning. It's a rap song. It's a rap song.
Yeah.
Now, what I want people to do is stream Warning. And to me, it's almost like Richard Nixon at this point going, well, if you're a president, it's not a crime. Right. It's like, if I'm a white country guy, it's not rap.
Right.
It's a rap song.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm not even saying it's like country rap. It's a modern rap song. It's not like a 90s rap song, but it's like a current rap song. And then he had a couple songs, Heartless and Living the Dream, which I kind of liked. And then we're already at his last album. See, we went through that real quick.
It's great.
One Thing at a Time. This is a double album. This is the one that went #1 with a bullet right after the N-word incident. And he just couldn't stop winning. Oh, no, wait. Maybe that was the other one. No, I'm sorry. That was the 2021 album was the one that came out after, I believe, the N-word and the, I don't know. He's done so many things. The COVID with SNL, etc. It doesn't really matter. One Thing at a Time. Double album. A little more faith references. He's gotten the message, I think, from maybe some pastors whose daughters like his work and maybe just said, son, would you mind invoking the Lord a little bit on your record? So there's a little token references to it. But he has a song that should end the podcast called 98 Braves.
Oh,
baseball reference.
Yeah, baby.
Ding, 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 ding. Now, this is a more classic country song in that the 98 Braves are the team. He felt like any Southerner, because there were so few teams in the South, the Braves will have this humongous fan base regionally.
Yeah.
And it's a song about how he thought the 98 Braves, they had the perfect team and we're going to go all the way. And then they lost to them dang Padres. Like I thought our relationship was going to go all the way. You are my 98 Braves, young lady. So close, but it didn't work out.
This is just so stupid.
Now, then he has a song called Ain't That Some Blank. He doesn't say the word.
Yeah.
Another rap song. It's another rap song, another modern rap song. And then there's a Hope That's True, which is his misdirection song.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like the last thing is, and you told me I won't find anybody like you. I hope that's true. I'm not doing the music, but you get the point. And then he has a song called 180 Lifestyle, which is just, as I wrote, my comment was, this is just a white guy rapping. And I said, only in an era. Now I have to blame hip hop, modern rap to a certain extent. A country artist couldn't get away with rap this mediocre in the 90s or 2000s. You had to lower the bar for rap so that this wouldn't stand out as some hackneyed effort. Like, did you hear his effort at rapping? It fits within the deviation of normal rap. Some of these songs, they're not good, but like, because the bar for most rap artists, SoundCloud, etc., is so bad, that's what you get. Now, that's your summary of Morgan Wallen. I suggest some of you listen to at least some of the songs I suggested, almost like a listen along guide to what we're talking about.
Companion.
But I thought to myself, I said, after watching Yellowstone and listening to Wallen, how do you win some of these people? Some of these people for whom this is culture. This is popular culture. You got 14, 15 million people watching Yellowstone. You got sold out concerts, millions of albums being sold and streamed for Morgan Wallen. So how do you, and these are people who are okay with his flaws. They didn't feel like canceling. I always thought the N-word was worth at least a pause, if not a cancel. But now any kind of canceling is the problem, not what the person does. You know, sure, he murdered people and abused children, but you know, that's cancel culture, Mike. So we're going to let it stand. I'm not saying Morgan did that. I'm just saying that seems to be where we're headed if you're in the right party and look the right way.
Right.
But you can't, now I'm going to go through a couple things I noted. You can't claim cultural appropriation has to go bye-bye. That's my opinion as a talking point, because cultural appropriation is almost one of the parents of wokeness.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in the Bill Maher, like wokeness. I mean, literally cultural appropriation.
That's where it started. It was like the conversations about like,
dress.
Well, why can't I wear Native American headdresses for a Halloween costume?
Right.
Or like what, you know.
And I think we have to, as Democrats and independents, have to abandon that as a talking point. Like, oh, you can't do that. You can't say, I'm not talking about hardcore things. I'm just talking about like, oh, you wear that makeup or you wear that dress or you wear like, now my issue with this is, and I think this is where I would push back if I were playing devil's advocate, I'd say, and I mentioned this earlier in the episode, the problem is that there doesn't seem to be, in some cases, a two-way street. Like when I compare Morgan Wallen and Beyonce and their respective treatment by the country music world, there isn't a give, there sometimes isn't this give and take where it's like, I can take from you, that's what we do. But then Beyonce's not getting the same respect when she enters the country world and says, I like country music. She's not doing this to prove something. She's from Houston. Yeah. She wanted to do something different, and it's treated like she's an interloper or somehow she's culturally appropriating, but they don't call it cultural appropriation because those are liberal buzzwords, but that's basically what they're accusing her of.
Yeah.
So cultural appropriation as a term and honestly as a complaint needs to go away for a while, because you start there and then you lead to what the negative folks call wokeness. And I called it the tip of the woke spear. But I think what you have to do is start creating and then we'll just wrap this up and I'll get to my top 5 comedy specials. Comedy talk will be super quick, Mike.
Okay.
Because I wrote down a few things that I just thought, I said, you have to make it clear there's a give and take. Like whether it's black people, immigrants, art, whatever thing you're making a cultural or political argument for, whatever community. I have learned by watching how they treat Beyonce and Morgan differently. You have to kind of tip the cap to their struggles, their contributions. It can't just be you stole that from us. That's bullshit. White people are always doing this. Like that kind of an argument, whether it's art or broader. It has to be, and I'm saying this for political purposes, but it has to be like, you've had struggles too. You have contributed a lot of art and things and culture that I enjoy. Like you have to, and I hate it because it's almost like this, we can't stand as equals. And you know what the problem is? In terms of voting numbers, white people are still the largest voting bloc. Mm-hmm. So there has to be this savvy tip of the cap, like, hey, I like Elvis. I like that he was influenced by black artists. You don't see me complaining about Elvis, but I'm just saying, why can't our artists get the same respect? Mm-hmm. Like when Beyonce enters, like that's the way these arguments I think have to be had. More like constructive, I'll give you a point to get the point that I should have, which seems unfair. It seems a little unfair, like, you know, but I think that's the way things need to kind of be talked at this point until white people are the minority, and then we can kill them all. But like, you can't have this one-way street of respect either way. Even if the disrespect has flowed disproportionately in one way, respect has to still be equal because you're just talking to a person who's living now. Yeah. They may be influenced or benefiting from history, whether it's art, politics, housing, whatever, but they're still just a person living in this time. And there has to be a little bit of a tip of the cap and a token of respect, even though you're just asking for the respect or treatment that you already should have. Just saying as a political argument, not as an ethical one. And I wrote that in general terms, as far as America is concerned, we need language to make white people feel agency, which is such a strange thing to say. But that it's like Yellowstone made them feel like the real heroes of America, and artists like Wallen give them the sounds of America in a white face. So they like the different sounds that Morgan Wallen has. They're not complaining about the hip hop influences. They complain about the hip hop artists. Mm-hmm. And that is the difficulty here with what we have to do. We have to carve out like a little bit of the people who can be like, don't you see he's just doing rap? So why do you have to have a problem with the rap artists if you actually think the music they created is good? I don't know how we bridge that gap, but that's the fact, is that Yellowstone gives white people the feeling of like, we're the heroes. Mm-hmm. And Morgan Wallen gives them all the music they like in the packaging they want, like a Timberlake, like whoever. And that's the thing. Like I brought up Obama. I was making notes on this. I said, Obama tried to do that kind of. He came with I have a white mom. I understand both cultures. I'm not trying to be racially divisive or anything. But as soon as he took a side in the most innocuous way, Trayvon Martin could have looked like my son if I had a boy. Right. Like that to me was the scary thing, and why some of what I'm saying may be useless, because for that to have been the moment, it was almost like they were waiting for Obama to say anything that might be close to racial. And that really still wasn't. Mm-hmm. The guy was like Peruvian or something that killed him. Yeah. But he was white. He was part of the white establishment in terms of the power structure. Right. Because he wasn't a black teenager who's beneath. And they like never forgave him. They were done with him as this idealistic person that they could look up to because, oh my God, he divided us. Never acknowledging that, like, no, you're dividing us. He's still being very even-tempered, but you're afraid that somewhere in your mind, they're going to take everything back that black people have given us and accuse every white person of racism. There is that like insecurity, I think, that lives in white people. So a show like Yellowstone provides them with this, like, there's like one black guy, he seems cool, and everybody else is just a white hero. And I don't know how we bridge that. And that's some of the things that I want to figure out as this show goes along. But the main thing is, the way to communicate this, I think, is when you're fighting for the rights or other things of people. We live in a country where you have to sort of couch it with just like you and your grandparents had it hard, some people are having it hard now. I know your grandparents came here as immigrants and look at the great life you did, and now you're struggling. Well, these people are living that same journey. Like, you have to make people relate, and some of that relatability has to be like this, like, moderate political ass kissing, so that it's like, no, you guys are struggling too, or you did great things too. We're just asking you to equally recognize, and just like we want them to recognize your contributions or what your ancestors did, it's important that you recognize that. And I know that is kind of offensive ethically to some people, and it is a little bit to me too, but we're just talking politically. The message has to be one of that. So, Morgan, some of your songs are okay. Most are not. I can't purchase any more of your art because the N-word is a real deal breaker for me, though I accept your apology. But go stream some of his music, fans, so you can actually relate to what I've said, because you will have a laugh. But we're going to wrap this section up. It's going to be a very quick comedy talk. But I just think, do you have, and I know you're wearing thin, but like, seriously, like, do you agree or disagree with my solution in terms of politically how these issues have to be addressed?
Yeah, I suppose. I think a lot of this just comes down to, on its face, it's like a cultural issue. And to me, it's more, as a music fan, I think it's more of an issue of taste.
Oh, sure.
And I don't know what's going on inside Morgan Wallen's head, but
Wallen,
I know,
I think it's Wallen.
Whatever. But
Okay.
I know from everything that I seem to have read and know about Elvis, that Elvis grew up playing this type of music, and like, he gets the rap of like stealing the black man's music, which like in part is true, but he was very, very close with a lot of these black artists.
Right.
And he was like sympathetic to the cause of civil rights. And, the only reason he wasn't really more publicly allowed to express that was because his fucking manager was a nightmare and kind of told him,
hello,
right,
Mikey.
Right.
The boys want.
Right.
The boys want.
So they didn't, Tom Parker didn't want him doing all of that, being public about his support of Martin Luther King and all that stuff. So,
and that's the thing. He probably wasn't wrong.
Tom Parker?
Right.
He probably wasn't. But again, that it, Elvis's mission was not to steal black people's music.
Right.
It's the music he grew up playing and loving, and he did it really well. And I think if he had a little more wiggle room, he probably helps some of those artists probably like make their own way a little more than,
right.
It's kind of like what the Beatles did. The Beatles, when civil rights was getting integrated, they used their power to not play segregated venues, like,
and then of course Steve Van Sant wouldn't go to South Africa, right, Mikey?
That's right. So I think you have to know what you have. It's nice to know what's in people's hearts when they do start mixing these types of music. Paul Simon sort of did it with Graceland,
and I'm going to say Morgan Wallen. The fact that he, in his Wikipedia, it's like he began as like a rock and rap fan. That is the dominant kind of culture. So it's not a shock that he would influence. It's more like I'm examining the results of how he can do these things. And it's pretty telling that the reverse isn't true. An outsider racially has a much harder time doing a more authentic country album, even if it's not pure country. Clearly it's not in Beyonce's case, but he can stray just completely into another genre. It's like, nope, it's fine.
Yeah.
He's still the country artist of the year. And the reason I'll end it here is that's as obscure as this may seem, I really was trying to think, how do you craft a message to people who like these shows and these artists? And I really think the message, as distasteful as it might be, or as difficult it might be, the righteous, bold, reparations now, blah, blah, things that may all be right. Medicare for all. Let's study reparations for descendants of slaves. All these things are right. They will not appeal. They will not get done, and they will lose you too many white votes. The question is, how do you make a message and make progress on the things that matter and the people who need help while catering to this worldview that is still white-centered? can you make inroads in people who see the world as white-centered that would love Morgan Wallen rapping but not listen to some black artist who sounds better than him doing the same thing on a similar track? How do you have to tip your cap and go, Morgan Wallen's doing some good things, but maybe you'd like this guy also. And in society, I think you have to just start to, like, you can't and trust me, I've been very vocal in how I feel about MAGA, but if you're trying to win votes, there has to be that small percentage that makes the difference has to be a tip of the cap to how they see the world, and ask for partnership instead of saying, don't you see how we invented it or are better at it? It has to be more of like, you've made contributions. We've made some contributions. Can you respect our contributions and our need to be recognized if we recognize you and don't treat you like the total villain? Because if I like this music or this art, you should be allowed to like this music and make it as well. Okay. So after this, very quickly, and I know you want to hear them, my top 5 comedy specials of 2024. Bye-bye. And we're back. Mike, is it 2026 yet?
It's a long episode.
You see how instead of getting contentious, I tip the cap to you and observe that it's long for you. I'm not fighting that anymore. I'm going to say, hey, can I get a couple more minutes while acknowledging that, yes, this has gone long? That's the kind of messaging I'm looking for. Well, my top 5 comedy specials of 2024, folks, I demand you watch all of these. Number 5, available on Amazon Prime, Lori Kilmartin, Cis Woke Grief Slut. Loved it. Gave it a good review earlier this year. It's just a very strong special from a veteran comic who was a writer for Conan for like 15 years or something. Also tall woman, but I don't think I've ever met her. But other than her success, we seem to have a lot in common. Number 4, this is maybe the most surprising on the list. And I stand by it completely because I was absolutely shocked at how much I really enjoyed it. Marlon Wayans, also on Amazon Prime, Good Grief. Loved it. I say this still in disbelief, as I was kind of expecting the celebrity doing the kind of mediocre comedy special. No, it was fantastic. So good on you, Marlon. Number 3 on Netflix, Brian Simpson, Live from the Mothership. Outstanding special. And by the way, I have seen most of the big specials from the big people, including most recently, like name who you want to name. I've seen them. So in case you're wondering, oh, did you not see so-and-so special? Yes, I almost certainly did. Might have been good, not top 5 worthy. Brian Simpson, Live from the Mothership on Netflix is absolutely top 5 worthy. It was really tremendous, and it was good. It's reaffirming my comedy soul when I discover somebody. He's not a new comic, but when I discover somebody new and they're really, really strong, great special. Number 2, and not just because somebody at the Albany Funny Bone once said to me, do you know this person? Because your comedy reminds me of them. But Matthew Broussard, last episode, Hyperbolic on YouTube. I am jealous of the comic who's really good and had a career enough that they don't have to rush a special or an album and get to be like at the top of their game and put out like their first. He did a Comedy Central special, so it's not his first thing. But this is just so tight. It's so good. And it's free, guys, on YouTube. It's just, man, he's real good. He's real good. And I think he's headed places. And like I said, last episode, he's who I want to be the star of the pilot I wrote. Won't happen, but just an additional compliment to the man. And the number 1 special of 2024 for me is one that I know you're familiar with, Mike, because you've heard it mentioned here a lot. J-L Cauvin, Half Blackface. Of course, that's my favorite special of the year. It's great, and I did it. And I was tempted to put Broussard at number 1, oddly enough, because I could say, well, somebody told me I reminded them of him, so it's almost like I'm still getting number 1. Yeah. But I had to be honest with the people. Half Blackface, for God's sakes, 57 reviews on Amazon Prime. I need to get to 100, folks. Watch it. It's free. Tell a friend. Share the link. You won't regret it. It's really good. All of these are excellent specials. But obviously, I'd like you to watch mine if you only have time for one. But I think you should watch all 5 of these. And oddly enough, my 2.5 white people, 2.5 black people on my top 5.
Look at that.
Look at that. So in an episode where I'm trying to find bridges and ways to bring the country together and examine the things they like on one side and how I can, it fits perfectly like a black and white cookie, which is the cover of my special Half Blackface. Amazon Prime, watch it. Thank you. We've already done housekeeping. Mike, good to see you. Happy New Year.
Thanks.
Have a great week, everybody. Share the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Good night.